Looking back on those playground debates were a lot more interesting than any presidential debates. We didn't let our movies decide the victor, we had to prove it ourselves with our skills at the arcade. Capcom's Versus series gave us the chance. Pitching the East against the West in games like Marvel vs. Capcom, and eventually the East versus the East with Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. A game many thought wouldn't cross shores. But with luck, the licensing gods blessed us with one of the most underrated fighting games of the 2000s. The Wii port, titled Tatsunoko vs. Capcom Ultimate All-Stars, clashing popular old-school anime characters against Capcom's usual roster, the fan favorites and the ones that should be fan favorites. Each fighter has a counterpart, and you can see it in the opening, like Ryu and Ken and Morgan and Dojo, and sword-wielding warriors like Karas and Cajun. Even the two titans, PTX A04 and Gold Lightan. These two stand out the most because, like the other games, you have to form teams, but these guys are so big they count as a team. Japan with their fighting robots, am I right? It's the similar core mechanics you expect, raising your meter, doing super moves that consumes a good amount of time for you to take a bite or drink, and with that classic speed that makes you think 2 steps ahead. The graphics aren't as sharp or crisp as Street Fighter 4 or Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but they do give it this kind of cel-shaded look, making it appear more like 2D animation. I would love to see them do like a Street Fighter 2 HD remix with fine detailed sprites. It's even Steven with the roster. There's 3 Street Fighters, again Morgan. If Capcom were to make a drinking game, she'd probably be in it. A more obscure fighter, Batsu from rival schools. There's even Mega Man's role, and you might end up clicking off this video with this statement, but it would be interesting to see the much older version of Roll from the Mega Man cartoon fight. I guess she wouldn't look as kawaii flying a broom. Or how about that Robo made, actually come to think of it, never mind. And you have that odd one that somehow they apply a fighting style to, such as Frank West. With Tatsunoko you get 3 members of the Science Ninja team, Karas, who might not be an anime veteran, but it feels refreshing to have more of a darker, unfriendly looking guy. Amongst the colorful superheroes, you got Theaterman and the villainess Doranjo, one of the most seriously badass anime characters of all, Kasan, and his little dog too. Tragically, one of the fighters not to make the cut was the Samurai Pizza Cats. I guess they would have worked like the way TMNT played out in Injustice 2. Which makes sense because, after all, the SPCs were inspired by the TMNTs, me Sphinx. And there's some legit stages in this. Orbital Ring System Cargo Bay has great music, and it makes you want to have a truce just to listen to the awesome beats and watch the action behind. The same with Willmate Park Mall. Chun-Li has her predictable, old China-looking background. The ending is different from the arcade. Instead of being animated, they're just images, finding very inventive ways of connecting these IPs together, such as bunch of Mecha Chun-Lis and crime-fighting Capcomers. You can even spot some cameos in them. But in order to see these endings, you had to take on the boss Yang. I won't go into how unbelievably frustrating this testicle ball was to defeat, but so I'll give you an image to represent what it's like. It's a shame we never got Tatsunoko vs. Capcom 2, but at least we have something good to look back on.